Hi, everyone. I'm Deanna, Marketing Coordinator at Data Delivers, and I'll be today's moderator for our discussion. We're going to be diving into the 2025 Restaurant Guest Engagement Report to get reactions to what the data found from our experts. So we're going to go around and everybody's going to introduce themselves, and then Pat will give us a little intro.
Hi, I'm Neil Culbertson. I've been in the restaurant category for about 30 years, working on the marketing side for brands from QSR to casual dining. I've been working with Data Delivers for the last 5 years and been working on really bringing forward what I think is a good product to help grow restaurant businesses, sales and traffic. And I've been working with Pat for a few years now, and I'm pretty excited about the possibilities of data and what it can do to improve your business. And I think this guest engagement report will give you some facts that maybe you didn't have before.
Hi, everyone. I'm Dina McKinley, and I've been in the restaurant industry for around 25 years between the agency side of the business, the brand side of the business, and technology. We worked a lot with data in all aspects of the businesses that I worked on, and I find all of this information extremely fascinating and agree with Neil that we're basically going to be able to share a lot of information that's going to be really helpful to your business to help you grow in the coming year.
And I'm Pat Riley. I'm the head of sales and marketing for Data Delivers. And as an organization, we believe that the more information clients have available to them to help them make decisions increases the likelihood of those being good decisions. And so the more data that's being used out there, that's kind of our purpose. That's our goal. And this engagement report that we're going to talk about today is one of those examples of putting more information in the hands of restaurant operators to help them make better decisions. This is the third year we've done the guest engagement report. So we'll be making references to kind of how this year compares to last year as we talk through this. This year we studied about 180 million transactions from just over 2,000 locations. Turns out to be behaviors on about 68 million customers. So pretty broad behavioral data set that we did this analysis on. The three of us did not do the analysis. We have analysts here that dive into the data and present the findings. And I think, Deanna, what we're going to be talking about is really like once we saw the results, like what our reactions were to it. So there's more details in the report of kind of how we did the analysis. We won't get into that here. We'll talk more about like what our thoughts are once we saw it. So with that, I'll turn it back to you, Deanna.
Great. Thanks, guys. So first question, what's the biggest takeaway that restaurant leaders need to know?
Well, I'll kick it off. I think that consistent with what we've seen in prior years, guest retention for restaurants is a problem. It's basically what we tracked was the percent of customers who came back, who visited a restaurant in 24, who also visited in 2023. And what we've seen over the last 3 years is a softening, a decline overall in retention. You could look at this as a problem or look at it as an opportunity. We look at it as an opportunity, and we will explain how you can deal with it, perhaps, as we go through this podcast.
Yeah, I'll chime in. I'll say kind of the thing that jumped off to me when we got the results, Deanna, was that, overall, so all in, everything people are doing, marketing, no marketing, whatever, you had a 17% revisit rate, meaning only 17 out of 100 came back in 24 that came in 23. That's a low number. And it gets even more drastic when you look at those receiving direct marketing, one-to-one marketing versus, just broad brand marketing, advertising, those types of things. Because without one-to-one marketing, only 8% of guests returned in 24. And that's a low number. That's a problem. Because that means 92% of people are churning out and not coming back.
Yeah, and I'll add to that that statistic right there is just mind-blowing for a lot of restaurant operators to understand that of their overall customer base, 92% of them are not coming back after they're new. So you get a new customer, and that's the only time you're ever going to see them potentially 92% of the time. And so that visit in and of itself is a tremendous importance for those people, from guest experience to getting them to sign up for your loyalty programs, email databases, and what have you, so that you could make the most through bounce backs and anything else to keep them coming back or to bring them back again. I think it's also important to note that loyalty, coming out of this, you realize that looking at loyalty programs for your forecasting and to understand customer behavior is a really skewed and dangerous view, because loyalty programs and people in your database only represent such a small percentage of your customers, and they're the hyper engaged people. So they're going to bring all of the visit averages and everything up. And if you're forecasting based on the behavior of your loyalty program and you're not looking at the rest of your customers, there could be some big challenges in terms of matching behavior to what's really happening in your business. And I think it's really important that you're able to track all the individuals over time that enter your premises, that order from you, so that you can really understand everyone's behavior and then increase the one-to-one marketing for those people.
Yeah, I didn't, when I was talking about kind of the background of the study, what I didn't really talk about is, so we, as an organization, we offer a CDP. So we're tracking all of these customers, all these transactions through our CDP environment. And when we talk about one-to-one marketing, we're talking about customers that we know who they are. We have an email address, we have a phone number, we have a way to directly communicate to them, and we're connecting purchase behaviors to that profile and then tracking them over years. And obviously loyalty is a piece of that, but we're also doing a lot of things outside of loyalty. And to your point, Dina, what we see is that loyalty is easy for people to track over time because you have a loyalty ID and you can track it. And that's what most people are looking at when they're trying to look at retention and spend and visits and all of those things. When you get outside of that loyalty, but you look at all the rest of the transactions and you're still tracking them with that same rigor, that's when you start seeing a much different pattern to behaviors. And yeah, that loyalty, that active loyalty that makes up, 8% of your customer base can look really good. But that other, 90% of customers that aren't in loyalty, that's when you start seeing that maybe people aren't as big of fans as we want them to be. And that's the opportunity, to your point, Neil.
Well, the good news is that, and thanks for explaining that, Pat, about one-to-one marketing. The good news is that similar to, again, the year before, I think Pat was talking about only less than 1 in 10 come back without one-to-one marketing. But we saw that as a result of, for all of our clients that have engaged in one-to-one marketing this past year, more than 4 times that came back in retention. So retention is an addressable opportunity, but without being addressed, it is a significant problem for the industry.
Yeah, I mean, the more people that you can reach with one-to-one marketing, the better your results will be.
Yeah.
Great. Next question. What key differences stood out in this year's report compared to last year's?
Well, I'll jump into that one because what was interesting was last year, and again, when we say overall, that's kind of combining the people that got marketing and the people that maybe got brand marketing or no marketing at all. The retention rate for both was 17. For last year's report, this year's report, 17% were retained. But when we look at last year, the retention numbers were 43% with marketing, 13% without. This year, it's 34% with marketing, 8% without. So they both went down from last year to this year, but like when you look at kind of the percent change or the impact of the change, like without marketing, they almost dropped in half of an already low number. And with marketing, it went down, but not nearly as much. And it's just critical. If there's one thing I could get across to anybody listening to this, it's critical that you are marketing to as many people as you can in a one-to-one environment. So again, whether that's through loyalty, whether that's through other means that are available out there, you have to be doing kind of database marketing to your guests, because if you're not, all the other money you're spending is not yielding very good results and getting people to come back.
Yeah, I mean, adding to that, this year's report showed that the impact, the sales impact of one-to-one marketing was 5 times more sales than the impact of non-personalized marketing. So when you have one-to-one marketing, you're making 5 times as much more money than you are with just general marketing. And so even though that number did decrease year over year, the efficiency of the marketing one-to-one increased and created a 5 times sales increase.
Almost like the ROI was higher. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, 2024 was a unique year. But we're going to talk in a minute about some of the macro things that were going on. We hope to see some bounce back on that this year, but clearly consumers were distracted by a lot of things that were going on in the environment, and hopefully with perhaps less uncertainty this year versus last year, we'll see a rebound. But clearly customers are looking for value, looking for how to make their budgets go further, and that's that's something that we also need to address, which we are. Many brands are addressing that already. So I do think that the overall picture stays pretty much the same. That with one-to-one marketing, you can greatly increase your guest retention and generate significantly higher dollar sales. Without focusing on one-to-one, you're going to see less than 1 in 10 customers come back, and that's a scary thought.
And like as we were putting the pictures together for the report, Deanna and I were talking about, we wish we could almost have like this video of the old hole in the bucket idea. And if you looked at how many customers are coming in the top of the bucket and then just flowing right through, and that flow through, meaning never coming back and spending another dollar. It's 92% year one, and then only 2% of anybody that didn't come back in that first year ever come back again down the road. And it's like, yeah, you got to do everything you can to engage them when you have them and keep them, because then you're up in the 30s and 40s and 50% retention versus the mid to low single digits in that. And somehow we'll figure out how to put a video in next year's report, but couldn't figure it out this year.
All right, so how is pricing impacting guest behavior and retention?
I can jump in there. I think that the higher menu prices that we've been seeing at restaurants have been far outpacing inflation. So, when menu prices went up on average 8.8% and inflation, was 4%, we're seeing that people are getting more price sensitive. And I think that is impacting behavior and churn. I think higher spending per visit doesn't equal guest loyalty. Basically, higher spending per visit is a result of increased menu prices, but price sensitive guests are also churning because of that price sensitivity. So I think it's, they don't offset, higher prices don't necessarily offset lost guests.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, inflation today is down around, for restaurants, is down around 3%, 3.5%, something like that. But the problem is that there's been cumulative price increases since 2019 of about 25 to 30%. So that burger that you maybe spent, $12 for is today it's $16, it's $17. So it was a macro problem. Operators had to adjust to keep up with inflation. But now they are having to deal with the fact that, their menu prices, once restaurants take menu prices up, they rarely take them down. So how do you get that a particularly lower income customer back into your restaurant or back on ordering online from you? So hopefully we won't see much pricing this year, but we are still have to deal with the ramifications of 5 years of increases.
Yeah, I've been in the data and marketing space for, this is my third decade that I've worked with brands and really been focused in on the restaurant space for the last 5 or 6 years. And it's amazing to me how during the event, everything has to go perfect, meaning service has to be great. The time that it takes you to get, your food needs to be what you expect. The price needs to come in where it needs to. The parking lot has to be in our case up in Chicago. You got to plow the parking lot so there's a place to park. Bathrooms have to be clean. All of those things have to click and be perfect, for you to be considered for somebody to come back. And when the price goes up, it just means all of those other things need to be elevated as well. And I think that's the tough thing of just being in operations and delivering on all of those things. Where marketing plays a role is reminding people of that great experience they had, of the great food they had, of the smiling faces that they saw when they were in. That's what marketing has the opportunity to do. And that's, again, if you don't have the ability to market to the people that have been in, then you don't have that chance to remind them of why they need to come back. And, like you said, Neil, that's the opportunity for brands out there is the more people you can be marketing to, the more people you can remind them why they need to come back. And the data shows in this report that when you do that, they're returning 4 times more than if you're not doing it. They're spending 5 times more than if you're not doing it. And, that helps to start turn the tide of performance is, getting more people in, spending more money. That's the name of the game. And that's what the data has shown us in this report.
All right. Last question. Based on the data, what trends do you see shaping guest engagement in 2025?
Well, I'll kick it off. I think that nobody can really predict the future. We had a lot of uncertainty last year, and I think we start off 2025 with somewhat of a continuation of uncertainty. And so my expectation is that guests are going to be looking for value, and are going to be looking for, as Pat described, kind of a great experience. And so we have 2 challenges that are manageable, but they have to be, I think those things that were true but last year are going to continue this year. I think one-to-one marketing has proven itself for several years in a row now to be effective at generating increased numbers of guests and increased sales dollars. And so I think one-to-one marketing is going to continue to be an important part of people's marketing plans. And, as is acquisition. Acquisition is always important, but we feel like the ROI is there to make sure that you are using your marketing dollars to get to as many of your current guests as you can and increase their frequency.
Yeah, I mean, I think you're absolutely right. Retention is definitely key. Acquisition's still there, but it's, 5 to 10 times more expensive to acquire a new guest than it is to keep an existing one. And I think that we need to also look in this industry about getting really good at data collection at the point of sale. I think that's going to be a trend that we need to really educate people on. Little things like inserting your card instead of using the tap, because you collect better, richer information from your customers with a card insert than you do from a tap. Little things like that are going to add up and make a really big difference so that we can make sure that we are really reaching all of the guests, because the ability to identify and market to previously unknown guests is a massive opportunity for growth.
And every one of those little things that you can do while you have the guest in restaurant, could potentially end up with tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of more customers that you have in your marketing database, in your CDP, that allows you to talk to them. And again, as this report shows, like, the people you're talking to are returning and spending more. And so, yes, capturing more data off of that credit card swipe, and tap does not really save you money, and it captures a lot less data than an insert or a swipe. So as a data person, it's like, hey, have your people insert that chip instead of tapping. Remind people that you have a loyalty program, because if they sign up for the loyalty program, that's great. I'm a big fan of bounce back coupons, QR codes and things like that somebody has to go and enter an email address, enter some information to get the coupon. Because if people do that, two things. One, doesn't cost you anything unless they come back and use the coupon. And number two, you get their data, so then you can continue to market to them and remind them of your brand and keep it top of mind and in that consideration set so they return. That to me is really the opportunity, and like being the numbers guy and being, exposed to the data here and seeing kind of the trends. The good news is we're starting 25 with more active customers than we started 24. So that's good. That means, hey, the chance for retaining people is greater because there's more people that are active in the brand. That's good. But we have to actually do something with that. Otherwise, it's just going to be more, falling out that hole in the bucket at the end of the year. And, that I don't want that for any brand. And if there's anything that we can do to help that, we certainly will. And hopefully this guest engagement report helps tell that story and helps educate operators on what's happening and what potentially they can do about it to change the trend that they're seeing in their organization.
Thanks for joining today's discussion. This report can be downloaded by scanning the QR code below. Data Delivers can typically identify up to 10,000 more customers per location that you cannot market to today. To learn more and see how we can help drive sales in 2025, please visit datadelivers.com.